So start by attaching your largest feathers. We're going to attach them at a slight upward curve, so if you try to follow the curve of the wing base, you can make it a bit steeper if you want, or slightly less steep. If you have bits of the base sticking out, you can cut those off at the end after we've finished. We can shape it a bit more, so it's okay, don't worry about bits sticking out. So I'm going to use this glue, which I just got from a hardware shop, Home Base. It seems okay. I think it's basically the same glue as high-tack glue that you get in craft shops, but it's cheaper and you get more of it, and it's really thick. And I'm going to be using this really old brush to attach it because it's quite hard and stiff and thin. Okay. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue onto the lid from the pot. I'm just going to close the window just a second. It's really noisy. Okay, so what you want to do is dab a little bit of glue just onto the edge like that. Don't put it all the way up or any further than this sort of area, because eventually we're going to be curling this feather so that it's slightly moulded and more three-dimensional. So, okay, so the first wing feather, it's a primary feather, and it will go right at the end in an upward curve like that. So that's the first one. So keep attaching your feathers one at a time, and when you attach them, make sure that they sort of get attached in at a slight slope at an angle, whilst keeping the tips, the shaft of the feather, sort of almost in line with the first one. So there you are, that's the first layer of feathers attached, primary feathers. You see how it's sort of neat at this end and stepped at this end, and it's sort of, there's a slight double curve here, which is nice because it it sort of adds more shape and more interest to the feather. So I'm going to add the next level of feathers, and they are this shape and this size, and they are going to go. So add the next set in the same way, but slightly further in. Oops. Put the glue on the wrong side of that one. That happens. Okay, so we want quite a sort of steep angle going sort of down with these, so step them a bit more steeply than we stepped these. You don't need to use a lot of this glue. It's really good, really thick. So try to keep it neat. I've got a bit too much of a gap here. It needs to be a bit more overlapping. Okay, so this is Evo Stick Super Eva Bond PVA glue, which I originally bought to seal my walls, which were plaster, before I painted them. Oops. Wrong one. But then I realised that it's almost exactly the same glue as you buy in craft shops. So once you've put the feather down, you can move it quite a bit. I don't like that gap, but it's done now. So yeah, I recommend getting this glue, as I've had it for about 6 years and it hasn't dried up at all. That will just have to be a bit of a feature, because wings are never perfect in real life. If you look at a bird's wing, if you do a search on the internet, you'll see that the feathers are all over the place, and they're all different shapes and sizes, and nature is never perfect. Okay, so continuing with this, you see it's a nice slope there. So keep going. Keep stopping the camera to take photos for the written tutorial, so I might try to take the pictures whilst I'm recording. So if you see me stop and the sound of the camera shutter, then that's what it is. Okay, not looking too shabby. Okay, so one more. I think I'm going to let it come down a bit. There's a bit of a gap here, but don't worry about that, that's fine. Because it's all the same colour, it won't be so noticeable. But you can cut it out if you want. So you'll have a curve. If you cut it, you'll have a curve that goes like that, a bit more in and out. But I prefer it. I prefer it like this. I think maybe this angle was a bit too steep. So if I'd made the angle less steep, maybe like that, this feather would have covered that gap a bit more. Okay, so for the next level of feathers, these are called, just 1 second. So with our wing, these are our primaries up here, these ones, and our secondaries are here. They're here on our normal birds, but as this is an artistic bird, or even an angel, our secondaries are going here. So our next level of feathers are the primary coverts here, which we're going to put here. We're going to have two rows. Oops, you can't see me. 2 rows of coverts. So no, I think I was off screen just then. So these are the secondaries here, which are here on a normal birds. This is our artistic bird interpretation, angel wing, and our secondaries are here rather than here, and our coverts are going to be overlapping our secondary feathers here. So I'm going to attach 2 rows, like sort of like that, really, sort of 2 rows here, or more maybe. It's actually going to be a row here, a bit of a row down here to cover this space and shape the wing a bit more, and then another row. So 2 and a bit rows of primary coverts. Okay. This is what I made earlier, so it's not going to just go across, it's going to curl. So we need to sort of angle the feathers so that they go, rather than just going down like this, they curl round, which can be a bit tricky, but it's okay. You'll get the hang of it. So start, rather than placing one here, and turn it round a bit so there's more of a gap here. As you can see on this one, there's a gap there where there aren't gaps here. There's more of a gap. I'm going to have to photograph that now. So bear with me. My camera, my lovely camera, which I got on Amazon for really cheap, second hand. I've had it for about 5 years now and it's brilliant. It's got a really good lens on it. So if you want to photograph your work, and you can put it on Pinterest or on your blog. I'd love to see if you when you make these, especially if you make them in different colours, because it would be really nice to have all of the types of feathers in slightly different shades. Like a real bird. I might try that at some stage. But when I've finished this one, I'm going to hang these both together. Oops, actually I'd have to make, if I want to hang them both together, one would have to be the opposite. So bear that in mind if you want to hang them like this or like that. You'll have to do a mirror image of one. Which I obviously didn't do, but never mind. I'll have to make another one now. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking now. Get on with it. So when you get to about here, we're going to have to stop and add another layer of feathers underneath. So this is where we are at the moment, around here, and we have to add these 4 feathers underneath, like that, as we're going around here. So you can make it come out a bit to shape the feather a bit more. So it's a bit of a curve there. So we have a curve that goes like that, and like that, which is, I think, is quite nice. So I just need to take a picture of this. Helps us if there's less light when you take a picture. Less spotlights. Okay. So keep adding these lower feathers. There's a bit too much of a gap here, but it's okay. I think that might be my last one that I put there. So what I can do is, when I've finished, I can shape these feathers with some scissors. If I don't like that bit, I can just cut the snippet along here. Okay. So make sure the card you use is, I may have said this before, but if you use quite a lightweight card, if it's too stiff, when we come to shape them using a pencil, they might crease instead of being rounded. So we want it to be more sort of rounded like that. And we're just going to go like that to shape them. And then from the other side, shape them the other way. So there's a bit of a curve. Oops, it's a bit jaggedy there. Okay. And if you use too thick a card, it might crease rather than bend. that's the first layer of primary coverts done. Just going to take a picture. I'm going to add a second layer now, because what we're aiming for is for this tip of the feather to look quite sleek and refined, sort of elegant almost, and then the top bit to be a bit more ruffled with smaller feathers that are closer together, so it looks a bit more ruffly. So just add another layer of primary coverts. So let me know how you go with making this. If you want, you don't have to. But I hope it goes well for you and you have something nice for your wall. Be good to make these a lot bigger, like really big, but if you're using a cutting machine you're limited by the size of the cutting mat. I thought I might be able to make them so that they go over 2 bits of paper, but then you'll have a join in the middle and that wouldn't look so nice. So if you use 12 by 12 paper you'll probably be able to get it a bit bigger, but not sort of massive, which is what I wanted originally. Massive feathers to go on the wall above my bed. Massive, sorry, wings. So they're going to have to be a bit smaller. But if you're hand cutting these, you're not limited by size, which is really good. So I might make a hand cut version. I've never done hand cutting paper before. I've always used my cutting machine, which I've had for about 3 years now. A little tip if you have the Silhouette Cameo is to get the fabric blade, the blue blade, because I've had mine since I got it and it's not blunt, whereas the black ones are a lot less hard wearing. So I recommend the blue fabric blade. Fabric blade. Hope you can hear me. I'm mumbling and not speaking into the camera at all. And the microphone is on the camera. I will be hopefully getting an external mic at some point. But I'll turn up the sound if it's too low. So this is a bit more sort of ruffly here. I think with this one it's a bit closer. These are a bit further apart than this, but it's okay. It still looks nice. So yeah, if I can get some nice paper in different colours, I might try hand cutting a coloured version. Or I could even paint the card or paper with watercolours, but it will crease if I do that. It will, sorry, buckle, and I'll probably have to iron it or something. So I'm just going to put this here and I'll eventually cut that bit off. Hope you can see me. I'm going to take another picture. And now I'm going to attach the secondary coverts. So if you can see this, so we've just added these in 2 rows. And actually this doesn't have secondary coverts at all, this has lesser under primary coverts, so yeah, maybe that's what they're called. But we're just doing our final layer. So, nearly there, it's nearly finished. So with these ones, mine are slightly oddly shaped and also the tips are slightly weird, but it's only got a very slight upward curve, so I need to make sure that I don't put them on like that when they should be like this. Okay. Right, okay. So these go right at the top, and I think we're only doing 1 layer of these. Or, actually 2. This one has 2 layers. But it depends how much space you have at the top of your wing. You might have more space than me, because I did make this a bit higher than before. You see? I have to try to move my camera so it is pulled out a bit more, because for me to be working here it's a bit of an odd angle. This would be more natural, but then I'm off camera. I can't really see what I'm doing as much. Yeah. So this has been a lot quicker than I thought it would be. It always seems a bit daunting when you start a paper cut, a paper craft project, if it's a complex one, and then as you go along you realise it's just a matter of placing paper, gluing, it all comes together a lot quicker than you expect. So I'm going to start angling this out, because it has to sort of bend round. I'll cut that off. Not on camera. Okay. So I might just put another layer here, but at an angle. So if this one I sort of angled them like that, the next layer, so they'll be more sort of like that, like that, and then like that, like that. If you want, you don't have to take a picture of that. Just want to check my placement, that it's all similar to the other one. It's similar, it's not the same. But that's good. It doesn't have to be completely symmetrical. It's more natural if it isn't. It will look more natural. But you can make yours symmetrical if you wish. It's all personal preference, really. So I just want to cover the tops here, these bits, so it looks a little bit neater. done. Okay, looks a bit different to this one. Actually, I might take that off, angle it a bit more like that, and add another one so it looks a little bit neater. That's better. That's better. I think that looks better. It's not as nice as this one, but I'm working at a weird angle. Okay, I'm just going to move it again. Oops, I'm going to get another one. And I'm actually going to add two where there was one, just so it looks a bit less jaggedy. There's more of a step. Seems to be lifting up a bit here because of all of the layers. So add one more, and hopefully it looks a bit more dimensional. Okay. So that really is the last one I'm going to add. Alright, so that's the feather done. I'm going to leave this to dry for a bit and then we're going to curl. So yeah, that's the wing done. There's a bit of a gap here, which I might actually add another one if I can fit one in. I can cover that gap up. That's better. Could add another one there. I'm going to leave it. Okay, what's on here? I'm going to cut this. Okay, so I'm going to leave it to dry and then we'll curl the feathers. Okay. So to start shaping the feathers, take a broadish, for the large ones, for the primaries, take a broad pen of some sort, or anything that's quite broad, not as thin as a pencil, not that thin. And then just shape it like that. Shape each one in turn. Just realised that I don't have to take pictures with my stills camera for the written tutorial because I can take still grabs from the video instead, which I will do. It should be a lot easier, hopefully. So once you've curled them in one direction, you can, if you wish, much. You don't have to, because you might like it like this. But you can curl them in the opposite direction very gently so that they're shaped a bit more. You sort of get a wave edge. So just shape the tips. Like that, which I think looks, I prefer it looking a bit more shaped. If you do get creases, you can even them out a bit. So do the same for the secondary feathers. So they're nicely shaped now as well. And for these coverts, you need a smaller, thinner, just use a pencil. Actually, I'm going to use a paintbrush instead. I didn't want to get lead, any coloured pencil on it. So do the same. You can do these a couple at a time. Oops. Actually, if I start from this end. It's a bit tricky in places. If you get any marks on your white, if you're using white, and you get marks on it, you can use a paint pen or gel pen, white gel pen, and just go over the marks a bit. Okay, so if you get any creases, and like here, you can smooth them out. Try to smooth them out. Oops. Doing them individually is better, actually. There's less risk of creasing. Okay. Oops, do the bottom ones. So wait till the glue's dry before you do this, otherwise you've got a risk of pulling things off. Okay, and it's done. So you can make another one in the opposite direction. Like this. Oops. And you can hang them up on your wall. I think the best way to hang them is to perhaps put some blue tack here and here, or here, and hang them either this way or that way. So another idea for hanging them would be maybe using something like this, which I used on the back of a paper wreath that I made for Christmas. Should do a tutorial on this. I'll try to do a tutorial on this one as well. but I actually cut a little hanging tag here, so it was just a square with a half circle and a circle in the middle, and then I'd hang it from a nail. So I may make something similar for this, maybe here, but you'd have to hang it that way. If you want to hang it this way, the tag would have to go there. So yeah, this will be nice for Christmas, to have a wreath with some angel's wings. There you go. So that's the end.